Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with probably the most creative Terran in the game in the blue. The Admiral. It's GuMiho. Facing off against the former world champion Zerg in the red. We have the Executioner. Rogue. In a best of 3 Terran versus Zerg showdown with 2 of the most innovative players in the game. Unlike your commentator who's just going to ask you to smash that like button. Maybe even subscribe. Let me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what do we have? No cringing. 1,741 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As I'm excited to see what GuMiho's come up with, what he's been cooking on the new patch. I'll be honest, GuMiho we haven't seen much of, because his win rate against Protoss is relatable. But against Zerg, it's always been his bread and buttered biscuit, coming up with strategies that some might consider unnatural. Well, mechanical, for the most part, as he knows flesh is weak and malleable. And, you know, we've seen enough Marine tank for a while. I'm not guaranteeing we'll see Mech here today, but I'm saying if anyone was going to show it off, well, the Admiral's on the short list. Rogue, no stranger to unnatural strategies himself. Kind of playing footsies with the supply limit with Overseers and Changelings and Nidus Worms. And also more literally with the Reaper, right at the edge of the creep with the Queen. Enough energy for a creep tumor. The Reaper knows that. GuMiho knows that. Rogue knows that. Now you know that. But, alright. Pushes the Reaper away. Goes for the tumor. And a little bit of a bounce out of spite more than anything else. Back at home. 3rd command center on the way. The 111, the barracks, the factory, the starport. Destiny Cloudfist build to start things off. Allows you to go any direction. I've seen Terran players go 6-7 minutes before deciding on their build outright. But the staples are still true. Banshees with cloak, or nowadays, honestly, with speed, because it researches significantly quicker. And then Hellions underneath. Pretty much cover all your bases, literally and figuratively. But Cloak Banshee's the choice. Already 2 gases. Not that that's putting anything out of the question, but a little bit on the early side. Rogue, on the other hand, nothing far from the party line here. As the Queen's spreading the creep. The drones in production. Zergling speed completed, but not investing too much in them. Overlord. Going to stoically and meaningfully glide in. And that's actually all it can do, but it's going to look around. Use the tech lab upgrading. Which, oh, it's happening. It's happened. Well, not this. Not the run by. The run by, yes, but okay, we'll get. Hellions go in, Hellions go out. You can't explain that. I think he caught a glimpse of the Zerglings and decided not to test his luck. But there's 2 more gases on the way. That means GuMiho's taking us back to McDonald's. Unless this is like a mass ghost right off the bat build, which I wouldn't put... No, 2 more... Two more factories on the way. Building those add-ons. I think explicitly for the factories and an armory as well. Oh, is it time? So, the Cyclones were fixed. The Cyclone cooldown is now what it's supposed to be, as opposed to about 30-40% quicker. That was bugged out for about 10 months. But far before we had any sort of crazy bugs with the Cyclones, GuMiho was killing them. That and the Hell Clone strategy, mass factory, mass mobility, and oh my, he's going Hyper Shees as well. He's going for a mech composition that is more mobile than bio. Of course, everything he seems intent on building could easily be countered by mass Mutalisk, as the Mutas are the choice, or at least the threat of them. I think Rogue knows GuMiho maybe a little bit too well, and is suspecting exactly this, but the Hellions running right by the Queens. The Zerglings keep trying to get the wraparound, not doing a great job of it. Gets a line on some of the drones. 5, 6, 7. And that'll be the total. But meanwhile, the Banshees cancels the base at the last second. Counterattack attempted, not going to find anything. But the Banshees knocked out the 4th base. Did he spot the Spire? He did not. And what he doesn't know can very much hurt him. How many mutas? Rogue has enough banked up for 10 mutas or so if he has the minerals. We've got Magfield Accelerator on the way, which adds 50% more damage to the lock-on, which does have that slightly longer cooldown, but is still an existential threat to the Mutalisks. Really, it comes down to whether GuMiho discovers the mutas on Rogue's side of the map or on his own. Because right now, while he does have an engineering bay, he has no missile turrets. He's locked. Well, Susan, why did we not wall off? Well, I didn't think he'd do it again. Well, maybe you should start thinking. Or stop. I don't, whichever one makes sense. Oh, not right now, Brenda. 12 more drones dead. I think he's spot. Well, the mutas are going to pop out in the midst of all this. Somehow the Hellions are still going. And mutas flapping their way across the map. Missile turrets nearly completed. And the defenses will be ready in time. Even scans to try to knock out the mutas, which was a little optimistic. But Rogue has only had 67 drones against a fully operational Mech GuMiho. All right. No sort of silly bio-curious plays here. No, straight to the Mech army. And the biggest risk is in undercommitting at this point. It's going to be mass mutas out of Rogue. 5 more mutas in production. The Banelings roll in and actually take out the missile turret. There are 5 Banshees above the army. This army actually surprisingly, maybe not that surprisingly, but vulnerable to Ling Bane itself. The muta count is not quite high enough. Magfield Accelerator done in 2 seconds. And that means it's going to be quite easy to pick off some of these mutas. He still has high ground vision. Trying to get on top of the Cyclones and juggle the cooldowns, but easily kiting back. The whole army is, in fact, he cloaks the Banshees. Just diving on the Cyclones. A couple Marines buying some time. He'll knock a few more mutas out of the sky. Rogue is not done committing to them. How many mutas will he build? And when will he stop? If ever. More Cyclones. No Thors in production, which would be admitting defeat when it comes to the Hell Clone strategy. Missile turrets, the TPM begins to raise. Skyrocket, if you would, for the Skyrockets. Infestation Pit is now on the way as Rogue has forced out what he wanted. A huge amount of anti-air and less focus on the ground, to be honest. Though he's still building mutas. He hasn't started a Hydralisk Den, which would be the most obvious choice. An Infestation Pit could very well be either for infestors or even swarm hosts. Though both are on the rarer side of things. He got Overlord speed in order to be able to chase down the Banshees. And the speed Banshees, well, still dangerous, but not nearly as much as they would be if the mutas weren't gracing the field. One of the only units that actually is faster than them. Cyclones lock on, knock out yet another hatch. But GuMiho has been unable to really wield the most important part of this composition, which is its mobility. The mutas have them beat on that count. 5 clones at a time. Begun. The Clone Wars have. A Changeling should be pretty obvious here, as there are no Marines in this composition. The only couple he had. What is this army? A whole bunch of Cyclones, some Hellions mixed in. He just started Blue Flame. He's getting the full spread of factory upgrades now. We have Smart Servos for quick transform, Drilling Claws to dunk down those Widow Mines, recently buffed, by the way, 30% faster. And Infernal Pre-Igniter for the Blue Flame Hellions and Hellbats. Well, moving forward. What is that graphical? That's crazy over there. This whole game is crazy at the moment, but the Hellions out in front, the Banelings rolling in, eating a whole bunch of them. If he can trade minerals for gas, though, that's absolutely ideal for GuMiho. My God, what is going on? This map has always been a bit of a mess on that. +2 flyer attack on the way. Hive is done, but absolutely no Hive tech in production. There are 2 Spore Crawlers at the back. The anti-air is limited. He has 17 Mutalisks, which is not a tiny number. There are 20 Cyclones. He's now mixing in the Widow Mines like explosive breadcrumbs. Or mines, I guess. The Banshees. Gonna take out the Changelings, but gotta be careful not to stray too far forward. But of course, if the Mutas do as well, the Cyclones get the latch and should be able to chase him down. Gets the scan. 1, 2, 3 Mutas knocked out. Takes a Creep Tumor for extra flavor. GuMiho is maxed out now. He's got 7 factories in his base. I assume in his base, but is that... Well, all right. Well, here we're gonna go. Only 5... It's just mass cycle. It's 28 Cyclones. Here come the Banelings. Morphs a few Hellbats. Knocks out some of the Banes. And still, it's just gonna be Adrenal Glands, which are quite good against Cyclones on their own. The Banshees will cloak after killing the hatchery, trying to get away with the murder. Meanwhile, Banshees trying to be intercepted by the Mutas, but the Overseers are a little bit too slow and will retreat to the safety of the missile turrets. And Ultralisk Cavern is on the way. An interesting choice as well. I mean, Rogue is going with the quantity instead of the quality strategy. GuMiho kind of the same way here. Ultralisks will absorb a lot of the lock-ons if GuMiho's microing them, and cleave through the entire army if he's not. The Blue Flame Hellion getting an inordinate amount of Zerglings, but eventually surrounded and killed. The Cyclones moving over to the right side, but Rogue is starting to really grab a whole chunk of the map. More than his fair share, but you don't really want to play fair against this sort of composition. +3 mech plating is about to complete. Weapons upgrades a little further behind, as weapons upgrades not that important for the Cyclones, Hellions, and Widowmines. It's only when you get more conventional units involved that the weapons upgrades really start to apply. Most of the basic unit upgrades are what provide the damage. The lock-on is spell damage, which means armor doesn't affect it. And honestly, it does so much damage, I don't think it would matter too much either way. But the Ultras will put that to the test. Chitinous plating in production, +3 melee attack and Carapace. The Cyclones will try to kite back. Whittle down some of the Zerglings. The Widowmine does a lot more work. The Banshee's coming up. And the Cyclones being split off. Not exactly a premium target, those Cyclones, for the Banes. But just shoving through with the acidic wall. And the Cyclones getting chased down. There's no missile turrets to retreat to. Gets on top of some more clones, and now 7 Ultralisks in production, replacing what Rogue lost. Meanwhile, GuMiho is building out of all of his factories, but he actually doesn't have enough of them to refill. He's going to be at 175 versus 200 supply. The Ultras have yet to be delivered for the most part, but there's enough of them on the field right now alongside the Mutas. The Widowmine, dangerous to everyone involved, splashes over the Banshees as well, but most of them will survive. Knocking a couple more Mutas out of the sky. And GuMiho knows he does not want to let Rogue restabilize. Right now, it's a tenuous position. GuMiho does not have ghosts, nor does he like to build them. So as time goes on, it's going to be harder and harder to deal with the sheer amount of biomass on the field. And the Cyclones, the wraparound with the Zerglings, tripping them up. The Cyclones could target the Ultras individually, but there's not enough of them to deal with the sheer amount of Ultras now cleaving through the planetary fortress. The Banshees trying to kite back as well. SCVs will retreat. Muta's helping out. The Banshees will be knocked out of the sky. A couple missile turrets continue to zone out. Hellions sacrifice for the greater good. More Ultras will be whittled down, but still 3 remain as the Zerglings are getting into the mineral line. More Hellions. Locks on. Rapid fire. And the Ultras eventually will be exploderated at the natural. But GuMiho has been pushed back all the way to his third. He'll lose 15 SCVs. But he has so many orbital commands. I think he can make up for it quickly. But the key point, it's not that GuMiho cleans this up. It's that he did very little counter damage. Rogue is rebuilding Mutas. Realizing, well, he's anticipating maybe a switch from GuMiho into a more anti-ground composition. Maybe siege tanks. Maybe Thors. Which would still be good against the Mutas. But GuMiho is just building more clones. And Hellions. And Widowmines. I mean, I'm not sure if that's better or worse. He's even building a Raven. Because why bother scanning when you could build a Raven? Vindicating the dozens of comments about it. We'll see if it dies to the Mutas immediately. I mean, also, he doesn't feel nearly as much obligation to build things like Liberators or Medevacs with this sort of composition. The Mutas with +3 flyer attack. The Banshees still doing terrible, terrible damage across the... wherever they can get. The Mutas haven't been able to take out too many. The map is cut in half so far, but the Mutas one-shotting the missile turrets. A Thor is finally in production begrudgingly, as the Muta count has been too damn high to actually contend with. He does not have the building armor nor high-sec auto-tracking upgrades. The Cyclones scanning around. Banshees find an opportunity. He's actually cutting off the Mutas on their way back, but he's running into the Lings on creep. The Muta count is high enough. The Banshee's still finding damage. Trying to take out the Spore Crawlers. Does not succeed. Transfuses from the Queens are able to hold him off. Double Nidus network is on the way. Lings and Banes coming forward. Widowmon burrows down. Throws it off for now. Meanwhile, right now it's GuMiho playing more like the Zerg with the Cyclones and Hellions trying to trade places and find a good angle. Another dozen Mutas on the way. Double Nidus, Mass Muta, Ultralisk Ling Bane against the most mobile mech composition, the Hyper Shees, the Hell Clones. And still working on the base. He might actually just kill this hatchery. He's trying to bait him into the Cyclones. Doesn't quite kill the hatch. Drops down an auto turret. Why not? And a single Thor is doing so much damage to the Mutas. He keeps stacking them up. Anti-armor missile. And the Mutas just shredded by the Thor. Still, it wasn't enough to completely beat back this army. Double Nidus in the main, a single Overseer. And there's almost no reinforcements to deal with this. He's going to retreat from the main base. GuMiho trying to force the base trade. Usually the Terran in a terrible position to base trade, but this is quite a quandary indeed. Now, there's no lurkers, so there's nothing that really needs to be cleaned up here that he can't do with Hell Clones. It's still very unclear. Like, any one of these fights could go horribly wrong for either player. Rogue has lost 43 Mutas. He's going to have another 25 on the field. Meanwhile, GuMiho has lost 58 Cyclones and is continuing to use them to great effect. Both players pretty locked into their compositions. Almost no real spellcasters of the conventional sense. No Infestors, no Vipers, no Ghosts. Though we still have a Raven, so... The Spore Crawlers are actually unburrowed, though the Banshees are nearly out of energy anyways. Gonna get chased onto the field. GuMiho trying to take full advantage of the out-of-position Mutas, and so far quite successful in doing so. The Cyclones darting forward, takes out the Changelings as well. 24 Mutas, more than enough to overrun the Cyclones. Meanwhile, another army to the south. Splits back, the Banelings whittled down, but another round and another one after that. He's just throwing so much into the meat grinder and gumming up the Cyclones enough that they just don't have a critical mass, and the Mutas will reign supreme in the skies. There's literally 0 Widowmon, 0 Thors. He's building 7 clones at a time. But I don't think he can clone quickly enough. Rogue still has, well... The Raven finally found an opportunity. It's going to do some drone harass. The Banshees as well going to kill off a few. And Rogue is actually losing. He's lost 27 drones now in the last minute. Which means GuMiho has a pretty significant economic lead. At least for a few moments if he can hold on to it. And for the first time in 10 minutes holding on to that lead. The Orbital Command going to be targeted. Another few rounds of production. 10 Hellions at a time being produced. Really trying to thin out the Zerglings. Rogue knocks out some of the SCVs, targeting the orbital commands. Micros back the Raven. Needs to lock on to the Ultras as much as he can with those Cyclones. They don't automatically lock on more than once. You have to manually do so. I'm sure he has it on rapid fire, though. Somehow, 155 supply apiece. And the +3/1 mutas are just shrugging off the missile turrets. Far too late on repairing. And GuMiho gonna lose a critical mass of SCVs. He's down under 50 and losing a planetary. Though chasing down yet another Ultra, getting far too close to those Banelings. Oh no! And the Banelings will be able to roll through. GuMiho, a bit too bold when he should have maybe been lowercase in this case. Didn't realize the Banelings had already been morphing for a while yet, and now losing even more SCVs. The Orbital Command is going to be taken down. The Cyclones will latch on to some of the mutas, but they're still able to fly away. Gonna target another command center, and GuMiho's down to 1 mining base. Chasing everything down. The Blue Flame Hellions doing a great job against the Zerglings, thinning them out very quickly. It's still unclear who's flanking who. Anti-armor missile on the Ultralisk. The Muta's coming from the top. The lock-on's not quite there in time. The Banshee's still adding so much damage, but the Ultras are tanking the lock-ons. Knocks out the Raven, knocks out the Banshee, and suddenly Rogue is up 50 supply. He's gonna chase down, maintains the lock, and knocks out 2 Ultras. Well, that supply lead is a little thinner than it was a moment ago. But the Zerglings underneath, the Cyclone's microing back, locks on to some of the mutas, but he simply doesn't have the income. 1 Cyclone in production, and not that many more on the field. The unit count is dwindling for both sides, but GG! Rogue has enough! Wow, what a game! Both sides fully committed to the unit compositions. 102 Cyclones! Bankrupting GuMiho. Rogue with 58 mutas, 18 ultras, 552 Zerglings. He lost 8 hatcheries, but not the game. Wow, what a brawl. The mass muta coming through for Rogue. I think correctly suspecting that GuMiho would not tunnel vision. It's a matter of principle. Honestly, though, his principles sometimes cost him. GuMiho does not. I have to assume he's almost a conscientious objector to the mass ghost style. This is Wardy's Korean Royale with thousands of dollars on the line, but it's not the World Finals. I feel like whenever, almost to a fault, and that includes in Terran versus Protons as well, unfortunately. But almost to a fault, GuMiho will stick to his principled stance and his unit compositions. Where are you going? But none of those principles preclude going 3 racks proxy. So, all right. He's decided this is what we're doing. Certainly a different take here. And this time he's putting all his chips on the table much, much earlier. The Overlord here on Torches goes towards the natural almost every single time. So there's no reason for Rogue to be scouting for explicitly this. I mean, that might be a reason in and of itself. Huh. Just poking forward. Maybe looking, well, all right. He's trying to get to the 3rd base here. This is a full-on bunker rush. The Overlord, it's gonna, if he goes a little, oh, it might not matter in a moment. Oh, no. So. Overlord spots it all. Bunker is on the way. The drones are pulled off the line. Here we go. All right, all right. The drones chasing down the Marines. 2 more Marines on the way. SCV's body blocking out. A little bit late on taking out the SCV on the first bunker. The Overlord itself might be taken down, which is a pretty big win overall. A second SCV, though. The Overlord gonna absorb some fire, maybe give an opportunity for... Ooh, a lot of drones gonna go down. 2 SCVs, of course. The bunker is canceled. The final SCV, I think the creep is spread too far now. A spine crawler is done. And, oh no, that might be the end of this almost before it started. He got the Overlord kill. Rogue is at only 16 drones. An expensive defense, but a decisive one. It's usually better to shut it down and cost yourself a few extra drones than continue to have to try to fight it off and gauge exactly how committed they are. But it's not fun either way. GuMiho gonna build a command center on the low ground behind. And he's still building Marines. He's, yeah, that single Zergling spots the fact that GuMiho has 3 racks, and he's still building Marines out of them. That cheeky, spicy, saucy Terran. And other flavor-based adjectives, apparently. The boys! He's gonna come through the side. And Rogue has already opened it up for him. GuMiho. Oh my. It could work. Rogue is putting everything at the front. But the back door is where you have to be most worried. And oh no! Oh, surprise! And the speed just goes to the main. Though, somewhat conveniently for Rogue, most of his drones. So, who's locked in here with who? Bunker's on the high ground. Does he have vision? The Overlord gonna provide vision. The spine's repositioning. He can't let the drones out. He can't let the drones out. He gets most of them. One survivor has quite a tale to tell. The spine crawler's gonna try to deal with this bunker. Some Marines trying to sneak their way in. GuMiho still has a surprising amount of mining. And he killed the main hatch. What a bunker rush. I mean, the first bunker of this bunker rush will now finish. The spawning pool is vulnerable. But the Zerglings on the other side. Well, now what? The Marines? Huh. There's a roach horn on the way. He started it before all this. So the Overlord gives high ground vision, though he doesn't see the bunker here. Oh, wow. He could actually hit the mineral... Well, he could move the... He moves the Overlord into range. The 3 spine crawlers are the backbone of the defense. And the front bone. All the bones, really. Crazy. GuMiho is up 20 supply, which is crazy. And now he's got both main bases. There's a real... Well, there's 5 roaches on the way. Looks like he's just going to try to break this entirely. He's still just building Marines. He's coming down the ramp a little bit mistimed with the rest of the units coming down. The spine crawlers are holding. The queens, the drones have to be pulled. Everything. Well, okay, the queens. The Marines get through one of the bunkers. The roaches are falling back. That spine crawler is everything. Did he hold? GG! Wow. What a hold. Rogue giving that the respect it deserved, getting caught out of position, and still managing to adapt a defense. Which brings us to our anti-spoiler bonus game, which I forgot about. Wow, I really thought GuMiho had that one. Rogue literally getting squeezed between bunkers and Marines on either side. GuMiho had a 20 supply lead if he just backed off. But it doesn't. When you have like a third of your SCVs in your opponent's main, I don't think you can just back off. Like, that's not a thing. Well, our anti-spoiler bonus game is a bit of an echo. An encore, if you would. Proxy Rex! Cure against Nightmare. But, wow, that series could have gone either way. Rogue versus GuMiho. that was knife edge for both games, right up until almost the very, very end of each game, where GuMiho just ran out of units. Honestly, I did not... One of the closest 2-0s I've seen in quite a bit, and did not disappoint. Despite the fact GuMiho gets knocked down or knocked out 2-0. What a show. Unfortunately, GuMiho's been having a lot of those series lately. I hope he can drag himself up by his mech straps and figure out something that works for him. But yeah, he's really been struggling, especially against Protoss. He already struggled against Protoss before the patch, as he has not. Even against Protoss, he's not much of a ghost user. Okay. Abuser, some might say. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just saying what other people are saying. Very smart people in the comments. Because they're in the comments. Like and subscribe, right? But... And that, with the new Storm, honestly, if you're not a ghost user, you might be having a tough time. Okay, so, Nightmare. Now a bit of a nightmare for him. But he scouted with the probe. He saw a severe lack of barracks in Kira's base. And now he saw 2 SCVs sitting right outside his natural. It's pretty obvious what's going on here. So, that doesn't mean this build is that much weaker. Well, it is a lot weaker, though. There's already a shield battery on the way. Kira giving us our second. I'll be honest, I did not think GuMiho would go for a triple proxy Rex. That's not how this was supposed to go, but here we are. Three Marauders with concussive finishing, 2 SCVs to buffer, and tags the Stalker. That's enough damage to go through the shield batteries potentially. He's trying to drain it. 4 Marauders. There's absolutely nothing back at home to defend. He's just going to keep building Marauders. There's a Robo for Immortals on the way. Nightmare does not want to risk going down the ramp, but also he doesn't want to let Kira just hit. So he just runs right. Wow, the disrespect. The Zealot getting full damage on the way by. But the Marauder's just ignoring it and going for the juicier targets and the Stalkers, but I feel like Nightmare. He uses an energy recharge. Well, and if you're looking for a textbook on how to defend, there you go. The Immortal's out. There's no, like, it's all over, but well, 4 Marauders, but that's an Immortal. It has the barrier. He's trying to bash through. They do a lot of damage. Marauders do so much damage. Like, oh my, he's gonna, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. He got, well, there's no other production facilities. So, he's building another Immortal. Cure? Factory? Yeah, factory's on the way. Marauders working its way home. I think Nightmare has this under control. But still dangerous. You can never, like, just like GuMiho before him. This was not, I don't think, it may have been the same tournament, WardiTV Battle Royale, but not the same day. But just like GuMiho before him, still a dangerous amount of units. Even when you've dealt with the first wave, have you dealt with second wave or the follow-up? Not always. I like how Nightmare is preparing to expand to the corner just in case. If this had gone sideways, Nightmare would have gone about as sideways as you could have, which I think is a smart move when your opponent very likely is not going to have a starport for a long while yet. But a single bunker with a Marauder in it, a Warp Prism with a few Stalkers, and 2 Gs in the chat. Okay, sorry, wait. I skipped ahead. Yeah, he's going to juggle into the main. The boys are pre-pulled. And he probably could just break the bunker. Warps in some Stalkers. GG. Cure. Shut down like a blue screen computer. Flatlining almost immediately. GuMiho at least made a game of it. I'm just saying. But hopefully that kept you from thinking GuMiho was going to go down so quickly. That's the point of our anti-spoiler games. And was a bit cathartic to watch the 2 Rax Marauder get smashed like that, I will say. And hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. Make sure to check out Wardy's Battle Royale throughout the end of November. And if you're watching next year or in 2027, I have 10 million subscribers. Well, hopefully you still check out Wardy. Either way. If you got the means of motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But if you're liking and subscribing, it's still free, at least for now. And smashing that hype button if it shows up, which it doesn't on all platforms, but who knows. Either way, I hope I made your day a little bit better. Good luck, have fun. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.